In the year 1274, when the winds of the world seemed to whisper of change, the distant horizon off Japan's Kyushu coast darkened with the black silhouettes of an armada unlike anything the samurai had ever seen. Hundreds of towering Mongol warships, their sails swollen with the breath of conquest, advancing like an unstoppable wall across the restless sea. The people of Hakata Bay could hear the deep, rhythmic drumbeats of the invaders long before the first arrows fell, each beat a cold reminder that Kublai Khan, grandson of Genghis himself, had set his gaze upon the islands of the rising sun, not for plunder alone but to bring the proud samurai under his empire's shadow. Yet Japan was no trembling kingdom. It was a land forged in the fires of countless clan wars, where honor was sharper than the katana, and in those tense moments as the enemy approached, warriors in lacquered armor tightened their grips, the salt wind stinging their faces, knowing that the fate of their nation might be decided before the next dawn. When the Mongols struck, they fought unlike anything the samurai had faced. Coordinated ranks of archers unleashing clouds of arrows, thunder crash bombs exploding with smoke and fire, shields interlocked in formations that pushed relentlessly forward, their sheer discipline shaking the confidence of even seasoned Japanese fighters. And yet, despite the chaos, the samurai countered with lightning-quick sword charges, cutting through lines with a ferocity that made the invaders think twice. Still, the Mongol tide was vast, and by nightfall, Hakata burned with the mingled cries of the living and the dying. But as the Mongols prepared to press deeper inland, the sky itself seemed to turn against them. A sudden, violent storm, born from the blackness of the sea, roared in with winds so fierce they snapped masts like twigs and smashed ships against each other in a frenzy of wood and screaming men, forcing the surviving fleet to retreat back into the night. 7 years later, in 1281, they returned in even greater numbers, an invasion force so massive that it seemed the very ocean carried an army upon its back, with 2 fleets converging from Korea and China, their combined might dwarfing the first attempt, and this time the Mongols were determined to grind Japan into submission. Yet the samurai had not been idle. They had built stone walls along Hakata Bay, turning the shoreline into a fortress, and for weeks, the battles raged, arrows hissing through the air, swords clashing, and the cries of war echoing across the waves, until once again nature intervened in a way that would pass into legend. A typhoon, the likes of which none had seen before, descended upon the bay, hurling monstrous waves against the fleet, tearing ships to splinters, and dragging thousands of Mongol soldiers into the depths. The Japanese called it Kamikaze, the divine wind, and in the years to come, it became a symbol not just of victory but of destiny, the belief that their land was protected by forces beyond mortal reach. Yet the truth of the invasions was more than divine favor. It was the courage of warriors who refused to bow, the preparation born from bitter lessons, and the unyielding will of a people who would not let their homeland be swallowed by empire. And though the Mongols would return to conquer other lands, the islands of Japan remained untouched, their coasts forever shaped by the storms of steel, fire, and wind that had once threatened to change everything.